Winston. Oh, get over here. All right, people. This is another Viva on the Street. And the next Viva on the Street is going to be Viva on the Street from Ottawa tomorrow at some point during the day, depending on when I can get there. For those of you who don't know what's been going on in Canada for a little while, first of all, welcome to the channel because I've been covering it for the last week. There is something of a trucker revolution going on in Canada. The truckers from across Canada protesting Justin Trudeau's, not just his vaccine mandate on truckers, but all government mandates. Basically, the last line of freedom in Canada is being defended by the truckers of Canada. They have been driving in a convoy from west to east, from east to Ottawa. They've been driving in a convoy to Ottawa, and they have, I would say, besieging Ottawa. They've been besieging Ottawa, except it's been the most passive, festive, beautiful besieging of Ottawa that you can imagine. They've driven their trucks to Ottawa to protest the rampant 2-year government overreach in terms of the government of Canada's response to the COVID pandemic. They said enough is enough, and they've driven their trucks in a convoy in what is arguably, unless you trust fake news fact checks, the biggest convoy in the history of the world. From the West Coast to Ottawa, joining in from the East Coast, support internationally. It's been a beautiful thing. They're in Ottawa now, and the news is maligning these protesters as extremists, violent, hateful. I think some media was actually suggesting that this might be motivated and sponsored by the Russians, as if the Canadian media just sits there playing off the playbook of the US media, implying that this is Canada's January 6th, implying that the Russians are fomenting discord in Canada by support. It's nuts. It's nuts. So I'm going to be there tomorrow because this is going to go on for a little while. I need to get there. I need to hear the voices and I need to see what's going on. But that is not the Viva on the Street tonight. The Viva on the Street tonight is the madness coming out of Quebec, because if you thought Quebec hit rock bottom, I'm going to go into the shelter here. Quebec has not hit rock bottom. We're not there yet. It's so cold. It's so cold. This morning, just so you know, I woke up in Miami after attending the Project Veritas book launch last night. I had breakfast with Robert Barnes this morning, and now I'm back to blistering, frigid Quebec, which I love. Everything about it, except for the politics. And these are the politics I don't like about it. François Legault, Premier of Quebec. If you're American watching this, that's sort of like the governor of a state, the Premier of a province. Has imposed or discussed imposing the Vax tax, a tax on the unvaccinated, which he said at the time he announced it would have to be more than $100 because that, according to him, was not substantial enough to penalize those who choose to preserve their bodily autonomy to not get vaccinated, not against anything, not against measles, mumps, rubella, tetanus, tuberculosis, no, COVID. Those who choose not to get vaccinated against COVID, they need to be fined. They need to be penalized. And it can't be a mere $100 because that, according to multi-millionaire François Legault, is not enough. He said it's got to be more than $100. And according to French news, a few days ago, he announced what that's going to be. And dig this, peeps of America, peeps of the world. The penalty for not getting vaccinated in Quebec, they're going to table legislation in the coming months. It's going to be anywhere from $100 to $800 tax on the unvaccinated, depending on your income, that they're going to propose by way of legislation. Why do they need to propose legislation to pass this unconstitutional, immoral, unscientific garbage of a measure? Well, they need to get the tax authorities to amend their tax forms to include provisions to identify in the tax forms who's vaccinated and who's not. So that presumably what they're going to do is actually propose legislation, which would pass this legislation, which would then allow the fiscal authorities, to include a question in your annual tax forms as to your vaccination status, which you have to answer under penalty of perjury, penalty of whatever. And if you answer it that you're unvaxxed, and then you have to answer your income, then you're going to be charged a levy of between $100 and $800. if you answer being unvaccinated and want to pay for your freedom to remain unvaccinated. There's so many things that are wrong with this. I don't even know where to begin, but let's just start with the most obvious: invasion of privacy, invasion of medical information. I joked on Twitter that François Legault has desecrated our constitution over the last 2 years, and now he's effectively made Quebec no longer a universal healthcare province. Americans, take note. Canada can be the cautionary tale for what might be coming to you from just north of the border. Universal healthcare. Bernie Sanders wants it. Elizabeth Warren wants it. Lots of people. Universal healthcare is beautiful. Well, we have just undone universal healthcare in the province of Quebec because you have a provincial government, a premier, a governor of a state saying, okay, you've got universal healthcare, and this is what the government says you need to do for your healthcare, and if you don't do it, we're going to tax you. You know what that means? You don't have universal healthcare anymore. So congratulations, you have seen what happens when the government gets a monopoly on healthcare and says, okay, good, these are the requirements that we impose of you in order to get your universal healthcare, and if you don't do what we tell you to do, then we're going to charge you for it. And it's even one step beyond privatized healthcare, because this is not go get your own private healthcare if you want to make certain decisions. This is pay the government. Pay the government, which is taxing you because your decision not to get vaccinated is overwhelming the healthcare facilities because they have not been able to maintain the healthcare facilities based on the taxes that you have been paying to get universal healthcare from the beginning. This is a bizarro... Get over here. This is a bizarro universe, people. And this is what is coming to a province, to a country near you, when you think you have universal healthcare and the government gets to tell you what you can and cannot do. And if you do things that the government says you cannot do, they're going to tax you. That's no longer universal healthcare, people. So great. They came and they chiseled away your rights. Slowly but surely, over the 2 years of this pandemic, they pitted citizens against citizens based on unscientific dictates. And now they're basically saying, do what we say or you're going to pay. Let's see, you know what, if they pitched it like that, I wonder who would support this. Do what we say or you're going to pay. Enjoy your government universal healthcare. Nonsense. And by the way, they need to pass this by way of legislation so the fiscal authorities can amend their sheets so they can ask you invasive medical questions. But they haven't actually gone through the legislative process for the very measures that they've been imposing over the last 2 years. And discussed, it has not been tabled yet, but in the article in the French press that I read, they actually said that in the legislation that they're going to put forward, they're going to ask that the emergency state of affairs be declared ended, but that they get to preserve some of the powers that they've declared in the context of that emergency situation over the last 2 years. This is Milton Friedman's "There is nothing more permanent than a temporary government measure." This is the Lord of the Rings, dude. Why shouldn't I keep these powers now that I have them in my hand? This is the government saying, okay, we want to declare the health emergency over, but we want to preserve some of the health emergency powers which we have bestowed on ourselves in the absence of any legislative discussion to preserve or enact these measures. It's a backward, upside down clown universe. And this is what happens. The government desecrates the Constitution, so you no longer have constitutional rights. And now you have François Legault, Supreme Leader François Legault, desecrating our universal, if I had fingers, I would show you, universal healthcare, because we no longer have universal healthcare. What we have now is the government saying, do what we say or we make you pay. And that is the state of Quebec, la belle province. I call it la belle prison, la belle honte. It's a disgusting situation right now. And above and beyond all of the constitutional violations, the social discord, the social divisiveness, now they're basically saying, if you want to remain unvaxxed, you're going to get taxed. And if you think that's going to stop at a COVID-19 tax, you are deluding yourself, you are fooling yourself, and you will be the cause of your own demise, because it's not going to stop here. This is just the beginning. So with that said, people, check in for me in Ottawa tomorrow. It's going to be amazing. I hope it's not going to be quite this cold because my fingertips are falling off, but tune in, like, share, subscribe. You know what to do. Viva Frei. Share this around so that the rest of the world can know what is coming to them in the near future, unless we put an end to this COVID madness. With that said, peeps, peace out. Booyah!